Okay, so good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for making time for this webinar. Copying what Nanayal said, it's always a pleasure to present to fellow digital practitioners of the community just like yourselves. There's always a lot happening in our space, so I personally believe that the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of information, and the insights is quite key for us to all stay abreast with the trends and just have the right updates to help us stay aware and also to plan for our future and the future of our careers. So for this webinar, as the flyer says, I'm going to be speaking on the future of jobs in digital finance. The best way I think this can be done is to, or maybe the most prudent manner will be to first present on the topic for the first, 30 to 35 minutes or 40 minutes, and leave enough time for questions and a subsequent discussion. I think we all benefit from hearing different perspectives rather than depending on just the presenter or the keynote's opinion alone, the keynote speaker's opinion alone. So we'll leave enough time for questions, contributions, and any views that are even contradictory, because that's what makes it exciting. Okay, so I think we'll get the most value for our time if we, spread or benefit from the wealth of expertise and talent that we have in the community. And I'm sure Barbara will come back with her clear line to assist in coordinating the questions at the end of the session so we can have a truly fruitful time together. I think if everyone is okay with that, then we can just jump straight into the presentation. Okay. So again, my presentation today is going to be based on the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report for 2025. Now, this report has become one of the most globally anticipated reports since it started being released every 2 years since 2016. So the last report before this one was in 2023, and then 2020, and then 2018, and then 2016. But the report has been consistently been able to provide insights from employers, and it has made some very accurate predictions about where the world of work is headed since 2016, which is why it has become such an anticipated and credible reference point. The most recent report was released just last month in January 2025. The World Economic Forum, in order to put together this report, surveyed 1,000 employers from across the globe. So this represents about 14.1 billion workers across 22 different industries and 55 different economies. So it's quite a thorough piece of work and a broad sample size that they have to explore in order to generate the final outcome. And even though the report focuses on numerous industries, a lot of the results and the insights of the survey relate specifically to our industry of finance, fintech, and digital finance. So I think that I'm just giving that the background to just set a precedent as to why this was the basis for what we are going to discuss today. So let me first start by highlighting some of the most alarming statistics that typically come out of the report that I'm sure you've heard by now. It was even in the short caption for the meeting invite. So the first is that the report is telling us that by 2030, which is in the next 5 years, 170 new jobs will be created, but at the same time, 92 million jobs will disappear. So if you look at the tile to the left, or at least to my left, if you do the math, you'll be able to see that this is actually a net increase, which is a positive. But you can still see that we are expecting to see a lot of movement and a massive reshuffling of the global workforce. So this really highlights the need for us to be adaptable and value continuous learning. And this is going to be a theme that constantly recurs throughout this entire presentation. So I've been following the trend of these reports since 2020. And what I've observed from these surveys is that, as Barbara said, the only thing that remains constant is change. We like to say that change is the only constant. So we just need to be willing to learn and adapt throughout our careers. Now, the report also goes on to say that broadening access to digital, or should I say broadening digital access or digital inclusion, is the #1 game changer. That is what employers who were surveyed have said. But the question that it raises is that, is it more about just giving people access, or is there more to it? So if you look at the right of the slide, you see that it says 60% of employers believe that access to digital is going to be the most transformative trend that shapes their markets by 2020 or revolutionizes their own industries, including people in the fintech and finance industries. And it makes sense if you think about it, because digital access is the gateway to everything else, including artificial intelligence and big data. Without people having access, these technologies never become mainstream, never become widespread. And this also holds true for our field of digital finance and fintech. The whole point of financial inclusion, which covers not just ensuring that people have access, or access to accounts, but rather making sure that people actually have access to the various choices that financial services offer. Without the access, the penetration.
Hi, Jeremy. We can't hear you.
60%.
We've lost you.
Hi, Jeremy. Okay, I can see he's joining. I think it's a network
5
issue.
key points. Sorry?
Jeremy, we lost you at a point for about
Sorry.
2 minutes.
You lost me for about 2 minutes.
Oh, no,
wow.
a minute. Maybe a minute.
Okay, I think the last part of what I said was that the employers are also agreeing with the premise that access to digital is going to be a game changer. I referenced it to the way that financial inclusion is also the way to set people up for additional choices in financial services. The whole point of financial inclusion is get people into the financial system, and now you can give them the additional value-added services. And that's what employers are also saying, that allow people to have digital access. Once the digital penetration is there, then comes the AI, then comes the big data evolution, then comes all of these technologies that layer on top of that. I hope you could hear me clearly there.
Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, so the World Economic Forum has labeled 5 key points as the major drivers for some of the changes that we should expect to see in the future of jobs. And that's what's listed on the left of the slide. The technological change is very obvious because technology tends to disrupt and has been disrupting for quite a while. So we're not surprised by it. It's not surprising that employers see, artificial intelligence as the number one thing to transform the organization. But the others are also a little bit more interesting. Another driver is called the green transition or green finance. And I'm sure lately we've all been hearing about the focus on sustainability. So the report is emphasizing that the green transition is going to be one of the major forces that is shaping the future of work. And because of that, the demand for what they are calling green skills is exploding. So people who are, educating themselves in the sustainability aspect are the ones who are, beginning to become more in demand, because the whole green transition, the focus on, environmental protection, sustainable finance, is creating a new sector of jobs focused on environmental product protection and sustainability. And this is happening even in the realm of finance and banking. Now you're seeing sustainability units, ESG units within the fintech space. The third point that they also raise is a demographic shift globally, which I'll go into more detail in the coming segments. They also list geo-economic fragmentation and economic uncertainty. And this is simply referring to some of the increasing tension and trade restrictions that are shaping our global supply chain. We just heard President Trump talk about cutting all aid to South Africa. That's an example of some of the tensions that are causing this uncertainty. These actions create that kind of uncertainty for businesses, forcing them to rethink their strategy on how to be more adaptable and resilient in the face of global events. For individuals like you and I who are navigating things like the job market on an individual level, it just brings to bear or emphasizes the importance of being, let's call it, geographically mobile and adaptable. The report calls it the test of agility. So which people can pivot quickly and adapt to changing circumstances and the complex global relationships that we're beginning to see. Those people who are willing to be agile and are not, transfixed to one location or one way of thinking about where work should come from, how work should be, are the ones who will be in high demand, because the world is changing. So even the way that you think about how work should be done is changing. Okay, I hope you're still with me. Now, okay, I see an indication that I should slow down a little bit, so I'll do my best. It's always not my strong point. Okay, now if you look at the way financial services have evolved, it's a great indication of how much more we should expect that it's going to continue to evolve. Then I'll give a brilliant example about looking for cassettes for musicians and how the bank tellers used to have these opening and closing balance books that were physical books, right? I'm sure that we all remember that there was also a time that checking your account balance or whether your salary had been paid for a lot of people meant going to the bank to queue to just make that inquiry. Now, even the notion of it sounds a bit ridiculous. Nobody carries a checkbook everywhere or waits 5 days for transactions to clear. And banking can happen on weekends. In fact, anytime, anywhere, because of the mobile banking apps and the phones that we have. So this slide is just a reminder of where we've come from to where we are now, right? That what we are even calling traditional banking now, just a few years ago, was seen as, revolution. New technologies like AI and cloud computing have not even come, but they are the equivalent of what we used to call online banking just a decade ago. So it just shows you a timeline of us going from the classic banking when cards were introduced, then we went to online banking, then mobile phones came in. We saw the rise of the smartphones. Then the fintech boom and digital wallets took over. And now we're getting to the point where there's an integration of AI, fintech innovation, and we are expanding access to the digital finance ecosystems. Okay. Now, as banking has evolved, we've also seen a commensurate change in the roles and the jobs that are in banking and financial services as well. So some of the job descriptions you see banks advertise now, just 5 years ago would not have been.
Jeremy, I think we've lost you.
Hi, Jeremy.
New.
Jeremy, we've lost you about 2 minutes ago. 1 minute, 30 seconds, I guess.
I think it's a network issue. Let's wait for some few minutes whilst Jeremy rejoins the call. Thank you.
Sorry, I have no idea what happened.
Yeah, it's the network. Today is not on our side.
Oh, okay. I thought that I'd actually been kicked out of the meeting. I thought
No,
it was going so badly that I was just voted out.
no. We lost you.
Okay, let me just try and reshare my screen so we can continue where we left off before the village people attack once more. Okay, can you confirm for me, Barbara, if you can see clearly?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, so I'm not sure where you left, where I dropped off, but what I was talking about was how now that the channels by which our financial services are delivered have changed, we are also seeing a commensurate change in the roles that are assigned to making some of these products as amazing as they are. So we are beginning to see new roles in the space like chief digital officer, digital project manager, agile project manager, agile product manager. You're seeing cybersecurity analysts, fintech partnerships managers. Now, all of these roles are not entirely new. They are simply just an evolution of the traditional roles now that technology, let's call it, has entered the chat. You will notice that most of these titles and roles are digital first because of digital penetration that exists and the fact that that is where your customers actually are. And the same thing is also going for what you see to the right of the screen as the departments as well. The traditional banking departments still exist, but we've already started to see an influx of change. Most banks now either have digital transformation offices, digital marketing departments, data science, insights departments, digital customer experience, alternative channels, But all of this is just to remind us that the results of the survey, in terms of the changes that are being forecasted, are already happening around us because it's happening in such an, let's call it an organic fashion. People are not really seeing it and are not really paying attention, but it's already happening around us, and it's really not going to stop. Okay, so going back to the Future of Jobs report, like we said, it's not surprising that it lists some of the fastest growing jobs from 2025 to 2030, as you see on the left, as jobs relating to technology augmented roles, let me call it that. So you see fintech engineers, big data specialists, AI machine learning specialists, user experience, user intelligence, interface designers, software developers. This has been the prediction for quite a while. I know that since I started looking at it in 2020, that has been the prediction. So we already expect it. Again, some of the fastest declining jobs are those that are more monotonous and repetitive, but can be automated by AI because of the data available on them and just their repetitive and predictable nature for those roles. So you can highlighting just some of the finance related roles like data entry clerks, payroll officers, telemarketers, telesales, accounts and bookkeeping. There are even some legal roles. Those ones tend to be more monotonous and can be automated as it stands now. But there's still a key takeaway from the report, as you see in the core skills for 2025. Even with all the automation, the report states that uniquely human skills have become even more valuable. Now, these are skills like critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving. So there's a huge opportunity to leverage your uniquely human strengths. The robots and the machines can do the repetitive tasks, but they can't think outside the box the way you and I can, at least not yet, right? I'm one of the people who actually does believe that artificial intelligence is not overhyped. It's actually being undersold. But currently, even AI is limited to its training data set and has to stick to the rules and the constraints that are given to it. Whereas people like you and I are able to think freely and think laterally without any of these restrictions. Okay. Now, the report also introduces a concept called augmented work. Now, the picture is an exaggeration. This is an AI-generated picture that AI gave to me when I asked it about augmented work. But augmented work in this context is the predicted work environment of the future where your human capabilities are enhanced and amplified through the integration of digital technologies like artificial intelligence or augmented reality and other tools, allowing people to perform their tasks more efficiently and more effectively by combining your uniquely human skills with the machine's capabilities. So it's less about people versus technology or people versus machines. It's rather about people and machines working together to achieve better efficiencies. And it's already happening with tools like, ChatGPT, Copilot, Firefly, Grammarly, Cobot, right? There's already a note taker on this call. There are now tools that will even draft emails for you, write the minutes for you, design your PowerPoints for you, and all you have to do is review and tailor it, right? I'm now even able to draft legal contracts myself as a business lead because I have all the key metrics and criteria, and all I need to do is send the draft to my legal team for review. In the past, something like that would have you would have had to supply them with all the information for them to draft it from scratch, which would have taken days, if not weeks. So it's more about synergizing the efficiencies between human and the technology. And this is going to happen more and more with the technologies going forward. So it's about using technology to amplify human capabilities. Again, AI is able to handle the routine task, which frees up the time for us to do the things that we do best, like building relationships and solving problems. So we are able to do the more complex and creative and strategic work. Okay, so I just want to show you an illustration of some of the augmented type products that we'll see in the future. So this is an example of some of the technological advancements that card companies like MasterCard, Visa, Verve, AM Express are working on, right? Using augmented reality to skip steps, right? So rather than opening up your app and going in to check your account and your balance, you can just put on a wearable augmented reality device, check your account balance, check how much you're spending. If you need to increase your card limit to make an immediate payment, you can immediately, tap, swipe, shake, whatever it is to get your card limits up. right? And you would think that this is, far out in the future, but this is something that the car companies are actually devoting their AI and AR teams to actually work on, right? Now, it obviously hasn't gotten that far out yet, but this is also an illustration of some of the devices that people are using. So you will notice that the wearable devices for things like augmented reality started off as being bulky. So the Microsoft HoloLens 2, it does a whole lot of things, but nobody is going to be able to keep this on their head indefinitely. The Apple Vision Pro is it's even more advanced than what it can do. The Magic Leap 2, the same thing. But you notice that recently Meta has released the Ray-Ban smart glasses. And even though it cannot do every other thing that the bulkier devices can do, it allows you to see where we are headed, right? A lot of these technology companies are trying to fast track the future and make sure that it becomes embedded, or what we are able to do with some of these wearables become as embedded in our daily lives as possible. But I don't know if you want to see the card video again, but I hope everybody saw it clearly. I hope you didn't lose me. Thumbs up if you saw that.
Yeah, we saw it. It was a good one.
Awesome. Okay, so going back to the reports. Now, the reports highlights a fascinating shift in how companies are approaching wages, right? Over half of the employers that were surveyed anticipated that there's going to be an increase in the share of revenue that they will have to allocate to wages, i.e. salaries, over the next 5 years. And what this shift is suggesting is that now companies and employers are beginning to become aware of the fact that they must invest in their workforce, right? Competition is one of the driving factors for this change, particularly because there are skills gaps. They notice that some of the skills that are required are not easy to find. But it's also about employers trying to align their salaries with productivity. Companies, according to the survey, are now beginning to focus on rewarding your performance and skills rather than just the time that you spend on the job. So it's not just about clocking in and clocking out, showing up and going home. It's about bringing your A game and demonstrating your value to the company. It's increasingly going to become them. That's essentially what's going to become. So if you have more specialized in-demand skills, you're going to command a higher salary premium. Then the less in demand your skills are, the less you're going to be commanding in salary. So again, it goes to emphasize the importance of continuous skills development. The more you bring to the table, the more you stand to gain financially. And as companies adapt, they are beginning to take a focus away from traditional degrees. Now, even though it's still important and work experience is also still quite highly valued by these employees, according to the report, the skill assessments are beginning to gain a lot more traction in how employers are looking to recruit for some of these roles. Because employers are now looking for tangible proof of your capabilities, not just what your CV or your resume is claiming that you can do. So they started implementing skills assessments that range from simulations to work sample tests to psychometric tests to be able to assess your cognitive abilities, your personality traits, and your work styles. A lot of employers already know that most people are getting AI to help in crafting their CV. And now English is, available for everybody to just cram into their CVs. So what they're trying to do is use psychometric testing to do a lot more oral engagements to be able to identify what you can actually do. Now, obviously, an interview can only go so far. So what they are doing is they will start these simulations of tests. So imagine a test that might present a series of challenging scenarios.
Okay.
Sorry, have I dropped off again?
So Jeremy, you're on. I'll try and mute those who are not muted.
Oh, okay, right. Sorry, I thought I had just fallen off. Okay. So what I was saying is an example of a psychometric test is just imagine that they give you a series of challenging scenarios and they ask you to choose what would be your best course of action and what your thinking process that informed your course of action is, right? Employers are now looking to get a clear assessment of your problem solving and your decision-making style. So basically it's about trying to get a holistic view of a candidate beyond just their technical skills. They want to ensure that you are a good fit for the company and the company is also a good fit for you as well, right? Because obviously, after all, a happy, well-suited employee is likely to be more productive and more engaged when it comes to productivity. And if you are able to actually make it through some of these, assessments, then it makes a good case for why you should demand the kind of high salary premium that you're demanding. Because if you look at LinkedIn's survey of the salaries that are going into the spaces of fintech and digital finance, it's quite hefty now. So it's worth looking into. Okay. Now, when it comes to reskilling and upskilling, the report is also telling us that by 2030, 59 out of every 100 workers will require training. I think we've seen something similar in the previous report. Now, 59 out of 100 is quite a significant number. And it raises the question that what kind of training, right? Is it about, just learning to code and AI? Actually, no. Even though that is important, it's actually what we've spoken about. It's the blend of the technical and the uniquely human skills. Again, your adaptability, your communication, your collaboration, your ability to think critically about situations. That is what is being assessed. The employers are recognizing this need and are investing in their workforces and investing money in upskilling and reskilling programs. What they are looking for is that combination of the technical capabilities, the right mindsets that will match the company culture and what they are trying to achieve by leveraging technology. So again, it's not exactly about where you went to school or what degrees that you have. It's about what you can actually do. And that is why the psychometric tests are beginning to become a test of your leadership ability, your problem-solving ability. Now, the question that somebody asked that I thought was quite funny is that where are these jobs? Like, where are the jobs located? Because location is a factor. Now, the report's answer to that is that there is a global talent shuffle, which is driven by two factors. One of the factors is that there's an aging population in certain regions, and there's a booming workforce in others. So, for example, Africa's workforce, that is the median age for Africans is between the age of 19 and 22. So you have a very prime talent pool who are learning quickly and adopting, the skills and education that is globally accepted. And then in the Western regions, you're beginning to have a talent pool that is already aged because, I don't know, we seem to be younger than most regions. So what is happening is that employers are beginning to go beyond borders. They are trying to tap into diverse talent pools worldwide. If they realize that it's easy to get somebody from Africa or China who has the same skills, they're not going to limit it there. And a lot of the employers, attested to that fact that they are trying to cast a wide net beyond the traditional geographic boundaries. So it's becoming less about where you are and more about what you can bring to the table. Doesn't matter if you're in Ghana, if you are in Yugoslavia. It's really about, can this Ghanaian do what we require of him, right? Now, slide 15, sorry. I haven't even got to slide 15. This is a question that was also raised, right? It's about who can upskill faster. Companies are investing into their talent pools and saying that rather than constantly just, hiring for AI-specific roles, we want to upskill our workforce. But then the question is raised that, okay, are you more likely to get the results that you want if you upskill your existing human workforce, or is it better to get an AI that you can simply, stick in a pen drive and teach them new skills? I think that's a question for everybody to think about and answer on their own. But since AI is actually always the elephant in the room when it comes to talks about the future of jobs in our industry, I think we can jump into that. Yes, this was ChatGPT's prediction of what a Ghanaian AI is going to look like, and some of the skills that the African themed AIs are going to be able to do. So you see the AI generated image of an old man playing draft with an AI robot. Very, very sophisticated. Okay, now the report is telling us that when it comes to artificial intelligence and this whole issue of upskilling and reskilling, the employers are thinking about, or the people who were surveyed are essentially coming out to a conclusion that there's going to be a more collaborative approach to reskilling the existing workforce to be able to effectively work alongside AI. That is what that emerged as the #1 strategy for most of the companies. They don't want to immediately just go straight to AI. They really want to embrace the potential of AI to enhance their already existing human capabilities rather than replacing them completely. So instead of fearing AI as, let's say, a job stealing threat, we should be thinking about how it can help us do our jobs better and more efficiently. The report emphasizes that AI is, again, going to automate routine tasks, free up human workers to focus on complex, creative, and strategic work. So it's really up to us to leverage AI as a tool to augment our abilities, not as a replacement for our own human, ingenuity. But we also always have to be realistic. There are some jobs, as we've seen, that are inevitably going to become automated. And what happens to the workers of those jobs is a valid concern. Even though the report acknowledges the potential for job displacement, it also highlights the creation of new opportunities. So many employers are planning to hire specifically for AI-related roles. So these are people who can design, people who can implement, who can manage, who can prompt AI systems. So there's a silver lining for those who have the right skills and training, people who are proactively trying to think about what exactly in my field can AI help to buttress, and let me try and see if I can acquire those skills so I'm more productive, I'm more useful, I'm more relevant when the change comes. You could even be the one educating your unit, your department, your company about all the aspects that AI or the technologies, it doesn't specifically have to be AI, can bring in. So from this, it sounds like a whole new industry is emerging around AI development and implementation. And even for those in roles not directly related to AI, understanding the basics of AI and how it works with you is becoming crucial, because it looks like across the industries, AI is becoming increasingly integrated into various aspects of our work. All right, from data analysis to customer service. So I think that the main takeaway is that AI literacy is becoming a must-have skill for the future workforce, right? So it's not just about being a tech expert. It's really about, again, understanding how AI is impacting your job, your industry, and how you can adapt to work effectively alongside it. The report even highlighted some research from LinkedIn that shows that there's a massive increase in the concentration of requests for AI-related skills across nearly all industries. So that means that AI is no longer confined to just tech companies. It's becoming pervasive throughout the economy, and it's clear that AI is here to stay. Okay, so this is a soundbite of what's his name? Jensen Huang, who is the founder of NVIDIA. They make the superpower chips that power the generative AI platforms such as ChatGPT. But he says he has a very good quote about how to think about AI when it relates to your career or your business. So let me turn this off and hopefully you can hear the sound. Sure. Let me know if you can hear this.
If you're not engaging AI actively and aggressively, you're doing it wrong. You're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to somebody who uses AI. Your company is not going to go out of business because of AI. Your company is going to go out of business because another company used AI. There's no question about that.
Okay, so I think the point is loud and clear, right? There's always two ways to look at any situation. You can look at the glass half full or the glass, half empty. Right, some people will will let fear be the leading determinant of how they view emerging technology. But as we've indicated, what we are calling emerging technology now, probably in the next 10 years, will be looked at as the normal way of life. The same way online banking came, and the person who was keeping the notebooks for opening balances and closing balances is not thinking of this. His life has gotten easier. That's if he upskilled for online banking. It's the same way it's going to happen, right?
If you're not
Yeah. So just staying cognizant of time. I think the key takeaways here are, one, we must all embrace lifelong learning. We must make it our mantra, right? The skills that we have today may not be the ones that we have tomorrow. So you must just stay informed about the emerging trends and never stop learning, being proactive and taking ownership of your own career journey, right? Even joining a webinar such as this and being part of the Digital Finance Practitioners Ghana Association, taking courses for DFI, it says two things about you. It says, one, that most likely you're a very good-looking person who will have a very successful career, but it also says that you also are willing to take ownership of your development and skills acquisition. So you're already one step ahead of most people by even making this first step, right? the human-centered skills for the future is basically that we must be able to balance our technical proficiency with the human skills that we have. Again, creativity, communication, collaboration, emotional intelligence, because you're dealing with people. AI can do several things that we are not able to do already. So we must over-index on the skills that we have the advantage in. So this is going to be achieved through things like your real-world experiences, mentorship, coaching, continuous self-improvement, right? The adaptability and resilience, quoting Barbara again, change is the only constant in the future of work. So the more you build the metal of resilience and adaptability, the better prepared you'll be, right? There's going to be that evolving relationship between humans and AI, because AI has the ability to amplify human capabilities and improve productivity. However, it must also be managed ethically because it can be used by a lot of nefarious actors as well. And that is where the human element comes in. So we must consider all of the negative outputs, the negative side effects of AI coming in. One of them has been, if AI gets to the point where it's learning from other AI, not learning from humans, then that bias is going to be ingrained and is going to build off of that. So now you see a lot of ethical AI programmers coming into the space. That has suddenly become a booming role that people are, indexing on. So it's really about paying attention to what's going on. Right. And finally, I think we all have the power to shape the future of work. It benefits everyone if we all, adapt to the growth and the ethical use of technologies like AI. I think the potential upside is infinite. So just to iterate, I'll leave you with another short clip from Sam Altman. He's the founder of ChatGPT, about the potential of AI. He talks about how AI can be the first stepping stone for us seeing a billion-dollar company that is only manned by 10 people. In fact, you can even see one that is only manned by one person. So let me know if you can hear this as well.
Highly performant, smaller teams, thanks to these tools and these technologies, are going to be able to do so much more. Is that a trend you're seeing from the startups growing around y'all in Cerebral Valley?
We're going to see 10-person billion-dollar companies pretty soon, like billion-dollar valuations. And the thing that in my little group chat with my tech CEO friends, there's this betting pool for the first year that there's a one-person billion-dollar company, which would have been unimaginable without AI, and now will happen.
Okay. So yeah. The billionaires of the world who are closest to technologies are telling us that they are betting amongst themselves that we are going to see a billion-dollar company that is only manned by 10 people. And some are even going as far as to say that AI can be that catalyst where we will see a billion-dollar company, a unicorn status company that is only run and operated by one person. So if that's what those who are, creating the ChatGPTs are talking and thinking about, then you know that the upside is quite infinite. So I think, yeah, I've used up majority of the time. Let me just stop here and open the floor. But I hope you found this session valuable. And yeah, over to you, Madam Facilitator. I think we can do a round of Q&A.